我是一名普通的老百姓。
I'm just an ordinary person, once the small owner of 5 guest houses and an e-commerce company. Due to the 3 years of the pandemic, I went bankrupt and ended up in debt. Today, I'm here to speak for those of us who are in debt. We can no longer live normally. You've sued us, frozen our bank cards, frozen our WeChat and Alipay accounts. Do you know how hard life is for people in debt right now? There are 800 million people in debt, with 400 million people with overdue debts, and 8.6 million people identified as judgment defaulters. We can't even cover our children's tuition, living expenses, or our parents' medical bills. For many of us, it's not just about surviving. Just finding food is a struggle. After our accounts are frozen, what can we do? We try to work, but our bank accounts are frozen. Our contact information gets exposed, and no one wants to hire us. We think about setting up a stall to make a living, but then our QR codes to receive payments get restricted. The pandemic left so many people in heavy debt. We want to get back on our feet, to start over, but with all these restrictions, it's impossible to move forward. We don't want to be labeled as deadbeats or untrustworthy people, but the platforms and banks have created so many obstacles for us. How are we supposed to earn money? How are we supposed to repay what we owe? So I'm here to plead with the courts. Please lift the restrictions on us, the debtors. Give us a chance to start again. Just grant us the basic right to survive. If we can make money, we'll repay our debts as soon as we can. I'm 26 years old and have 3.7 million yuan in debt. It's been about half a month since I've had a good night's sleep. How hard is it? Right now, I don't even have 100 yuan in my pocket. This morning, I got a video call from my son. My well-behaved son said to me for the first time, "Mom, I want a model race car. The kids at school all have one. I looked it up online. It costs just over 50 yuan, but I can't afford it." Seeing the longing in his eyes broke my heart. I still don't know how I'm going to cover his school fees next month. I was born into an ordinary family. Like most of my peers, I started working a year and a half after graduating from college. That restless feeling pushed me to start my own business. Over 5 years, I focused on the hotel industry, opening 4 guest houses one after another. I had a house, a car, and savings, until the pandemic caused years of losses, and I went completely bankrupt. Now I have nothing. Every day I'm bombarded with calls from debt collectors. The stress is overwhelming. When I can't sleep, I come to this bridge and walk. Sometimes I think about leaving it all behind, but then I remember I have parents in their 60s, and I have a 5-year-old son who still needs me. For them, I have to keep going. In today's Chinese society, the deteriorating economy has left countless families burdened with overwhelming debt. Mortgages, car loans, consumer loans, these various forms of debts are like invisible webs that bind people tightly. Ordinary folks are working themselves to exhaustion trying to repay their debts, only to watch their quality of life decline. Faced with mounting pressure, some choose to flee, while others sink into despair.
I was once one of China's billionaires, and now I might be the most miserable one. I must be the most down and out of all the people born in the 80s. I worked half my life only to become a tragic joke. 3 years ago, I was the chairman of Ningdian Group, with a fortune worth over 1 billion yuan. In Guangzhou, I was someone known, but in the blink of an eye, the pandemic hit. One project after another fell apart. The capital chain broke, and I found myself with 80 million yuan in debt. I'm 40 years old now, a middle-aged man with a crushing debt. Even my father thinks I'm done for. For the past 3 years, I've been drowning in lawsuits and endless calls from debt collectors. Life is worse than death. I used to lead one of China's top companies in the display screen industry. I brought my friends and relatives along with me on this entrepreneurial journey. If anyone asked me to invest, I never said no. But when the pandemic hit, every single project started losing money. Over the years, I've been depressed. I've wanted to give up, but I couldn't let go. And yet, what difference does it make? In reality, I'm no longer a chairman. I'm just a debtor, someone even my own family avoids. To the courts, we're all debtors from all over the country, gathered here in Shenyang. We were once the legal representatives of companies, the bosses of businesses with property, car rental services, engineering firms, you name it. We've been tearing apart one side of the wall to patch the other, borrowing to repay, and taking new loans to cover old ones. We didn't want to owe money. We didn't want to borrow. But when the pandemic came, we had no choice. Our businesses needed to operate, and we drained everything we had. Together, we're over 70 million yuan in debt. Today, we stand here speaking for the countless debtors. Each of us got into debt for different reasons, but we're all facing the same reality. We can't live normal lives anymore. You sued us and froze our bank accounts, our WeChat and Alipay accounts. Do you know how hard life is for us debtors right now? Our children's school fees, our parents' medical bills, everything is at risk. Many of us can't even make ends meet. After you freeze our accounts, we try to work, but our bank accounts are useless. We try to set up a street stall, but the QR codes to receive payments were blocked. The pandemic has left so many in debt. We want to get back on our feet. We want to start over, but the restrictions leave us stuck. That's why I'm pleading with you. Please, lift the restrictions on debtors. Give us a chance to start over. Give us the basic right to survive. Only if we can earn money can we pay you back.
Industries across the board are in severe recession. Physical stores and shopping centers are shutting down en masse, and many business owners are drowning in debt, constantly harassed by banks for payments. When they can't repay their loans, these entrepreneurs are branded untrustworthy, becoming judgment defaulters. Once on this blacklist, they can't take out loans, use public transportation, take planes, ride high-speed trains, or stay in hotels. Their business activities are severely restricted, leaving them with almost no way to move forward.
我永远忘不了今天。
I'll never forget today, July 28, 2024, 11 p.m. The wind is howling, and 15 million yuan of foreign debt weighs me down. I've spent 27 hours on a slow train. For the first time in 9 years, I've left my home all alone. Though my hometown is beautiful, there's no place for me there anymore. I used to leave with a purpose and with company. Today, I'm just a bankrupt failure, clinging to life under the weight of debt. Oh heavens, I challenge you, no matter how hard it rains, if you don't let me die, I will keep pushing forward, come hell or high water. This trip is filled with sorrow, helplessness, and confusion. My heart, already shattered, is on the brink of collapse. Tears of despair soak my soul. Looking back at the beautiful past and seeing the miserable present, the fall from heaven to hell is cruel enough to make me question everything. The mental torment of debt is the worst pain I've ever known. Once I was a millionaire. Now I'm just a debtor with a ruined reputation. I've gone from a happy family to a broken marriage, from admiration and respect to being cursed and ridiculed by my creditors. After enduring years of rock bottom, there's almost nothing left of me. For a woman carrying millions in debt, the burden is suffocating. Friends criticize her, and she's been seen as a failure by everyone around her. Her relatives look down on her, her parents don't understand her, and she's even lost her marriage. The constant high pressure and sacrifice have taken a toll on her health, leaving her anxious, irritable, and struggling to survive. Recently, a video titled, "Founder of Spice Spirit Company Limited Responds to 300 Million Debt," went viral on social media. In the video, founder Han Dong, who is 53, responded to an interview discussing the various hardships he faced after being restricted from high-end consumption due to his debts. He explained, "Now I'm living in a relative's house. At our lowest point, the 5 of us were relying on my mother's monthly pension of just over 8,000 yuan. Han Dong founded Spice Spirit in 2002 with 3 brands under its banner. The chain expanded across China, including franchises, reaching 105 stores at its peak, with distribution centers, food outlets, and over 3,000 employees. The company's annual sales approached 2 billion yuan. At its height, Spice Spirit could sell up to 50 tons of crayfish in a single day, and annual revenue exceeded 1 billion yuan. The brand attracted significant investment, completing 3 rounds of financing totaling more than 300 million yuan. However, after the pandemic began, Spice Spirit faced a wave of closures. Many stores shut down, employee wages went unpaid, and suppliers came knocking for money. The brand was on the brink of collapse. Han Dong revealed that during the company's downturn, the media coverage and external distrust ultimately drove the company to bankruptcy. His family of 6 was forced to move in with relatives. His eldest son had to drop out of school and return home, becoming depressed due to not earning a high school diploma and the family's financial struggles. In July 2024, Han Dong took to the night market, attempting to sell spicy crayfish from a street stall. He also tried his hand at social media, but didn't dare to splurge on even beef for his family. They've had to rely entirely on his mother's pension, and every penny is carefully calculated. In recent years, China's economic crisis has deepened, with local government debt piling up. Many business owners have become heavily indebted due to unpaid contracts from the government. In June of this year, Mr. Zhang, a construction contractor from Shanghai, spoke to foreign media. He said, "Business across all sectors is struggling. Restaurants, supermarkets, everything is failing. More than 60% have closed down. I used to work in construction, but my projects finished in 2020. I'm still waiting for payment, and the county government hasn't paid for the redevelopment projects I worked on." Mr. Zhang said the government owes billions to contractors like him, but they have no money to pay them. He added, "I've borrowed so much from the bank, and my house and car are now collateral. I'm stuck." In China, both company law and bankruptcy law prioritize the protection of creditors, usually powerful state-owned institutions like banks, leaving entrepreneurs in dire straits. This has led to a surge in judgment defaulters. According to data released by China's Enforcement Information Disclosure website in December last year, more than 8.54 million people in China have been blacklisted as judgment defaulters, a record high. This is a significant jump from the 5.7 million in early 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic had just begun and almost all economic activity ground to a halt. Even though the pandemic has ended, many debtors have faced reduced incomes or unemployment, making it impossible to repay their loans, and thus they find themselves blacklisted. When looking at the distribution of people with overdue debt in China, most rely on bank loans, with mortgages making up the largest portion at 76%. Car loans and other bank loans account for 21%, while private loans make up 2.4%. Online finance and other debts account for only 0.8%. For individuals, the willingness to take on debt in the past was rooted in the belief that future income would not only cover the mortgage, but also leave enough for living expenses, raising children, and supporting aging parents. Chinese citizens have begun to mock their situation, creating a 2024 misery ranking. 1 star is given for unemployment, and 2 stars for unemployment plus no savings. The worst scenario is ranked at 9 stars, unemployment, no savings, mortgage payments due, raising children, and mounting debts while also being hounded by creditors, compounded by illness in oneself and one's parents, ending with the house being seized in a foreclosure auction. An economist at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, Professor Liu Yuhui, noted that China has entered a period of deflation, with the 6 wallets of ordinary people all running dry. These 6 wallets refer to the combined savings of a couple and both sets of their parents, spanning 3 families. According to the latest data from the People's Bank of China, as of June 2024, 800 million people in China are in debt, with a delinquency rate of 42%. This means that at least 300 million people nationwide have overdue debt. Excluding minors and the elderly, it's almost universal. Experts have pointed out that over the past 5 years, China has been one of the fastest growing countries in terms of household debt. China's credit card debt rate has already surpassed that of the United States. So just how much debt are the Chinese carrying, and how risky is it? According to data from Hong Kong's CEIC, China's household debt exceeded $11 trillion in January 2024. Compared to 5 years ago, the scale of household debt in China has increased by 50%. There are several reasons for the rise in debt. First, draconian lockdown measures during the pandemic devastated an already fragile Chinese economy, causing the real estate market, a key driver of China's economy, to collapse. Simultaneously, the CCP's closed-door policies led to the decoupling of Chinese industries from the West, prompting foreign companies to rapidly withdraw from China. Local businesses have had to shut down, leading to a wave of collective bankruptcies. Second, unemployment and job instability. These are also major factors behind the rise in overdue debts. In the current economic climate, waves of layoffs and pay cuts have left many people facing unemployment or significant income reductions. As a result, more and more people are defaulting on their mortgage payments. Industry insiders estimate that the number of foreclosed homes in China could surpass 10 million this year, a clear sign of how many young people can no longer afford their homes due to job loss. Third, insufficient financial regulation. As internet finance rapidly developed, online lending platforms and cash loans proliferated, with some platforms engaging in illegal practices that trapped borrowers in a cycle of overdue debt. The CCP's inadequate regulation of the financial market is another key reason behind the rise in debt delinquencies. The growing debt burden in China, exposed by the ongoing economic decline, is not only bringing despair to individuals and families, but also severely impacting the country's economic foundations. Debt is dragging down the nation's consumption capacity and is preventing the economy from recovering normally. At the same time, this debt crisis is exacerbating economic inequality, threatening the stability of the CCP's regime. This situation is likely to fuel more extreme social incidents. Low-income groups, unable to bear the pressure of debt, may resort to drastic actions to retaliate against society. Meanwhile, high-income individuals can use debt to acquire even more assets, further widening the gap between rich and poor. The result is likely to be greater social division, with more incidents of violent crime such as murder and robbery.